Hello everyone, this is Yashfa Khan. Today we are going to start 7th class chapter 3rd. The name of that chapter is the luncheon. Luncheon is a word which we are using for formal lunch, which we are taking with our those people whom we are not so familiar or so known with or for the meeting purposes. This chapter is written by William Somerset Maugham, W.S. Maugham. This chapter is quite interesting and quite amusing. When we will read it, our interest will increase line by line, sentence by sentence. So let's come to its text. It is quite humorous chapter, we can say. I caught sight of her at the play, and in the answer to her beckoning, I went over during the interval and sat down beside her. It was long since I had last seen her, and if someone had no mentioned her name, I hardly think I would have recognized her. Here, the writer is saying that he met here her is being used for a lady whom he met at a play and that lady just signaled her to come nearer to her. So the narrator went nearer to the lady during the interval time of the play, and he just sat beside her. It was long since, means he would have met with that lady, but so long back. So he was not able to recognize that lady, and he was saying if somebody would have not recalled and just would not have taken her name, the writer would not have recognized that lady. She addressed me brightly, means the lady addressed to the narrator very happily. Well, it has been many years since we first met. How time does fly. Do you remember the first time I saw you? You asked me to luncheon. Now the lady is saying it has passed so many years. Do you remember how we met first time? And do you remember when I first saw you? You asked me for the lunch. Now the narrator is completely puzzled and perplexed because he did not recall when did he meet with that lady and who that lady was. Then he asked to himself, did I remember? But suddenly he just remembers all the thing and remembers when he met with that lady. It was 20 years ago, and I was living in Paris. I had a tiny apartment in the Latin Quarter overlooking a cemetery, and I was earning barely enough money to keep body and soul together. She had read a book of mine and had written to me about it. I answered thanking her. Presently I received from her another letter saying that she was passing through Paris and would like to have a chat with me. It was something 20 years back then when the narrator was living in Paris. At the time he has started his career, so he was not having that extra money, or we can say he was having only that much. I was earning, means the narrator was earning as little money, means we can say not that much extra money. He was earning only that much money which he could survive for his life. The lady was one of the fan, we can say. She was a reader of the book of writer, and she wrote a letter to her, and which she answered thanking her because she praised the narrator a lot. And another letter again she has written, and in that she has expressed her desire that she was passing through Paris, so she wanted to meet the narrator, and her time was limited, and the only free moment she had was on the following Thursday. She was very busy at that time, but she was having little bit time on Thursday. She was spending the morning in the Luxembourg, and would I give her a little lunch at Foyot's afterward. And at that time she was spending her morning time in Luxembourg, and she asked from the narrator that he would have a little bit time, and could he just offer the lady some time for lunch at Foyot's restaurant. French senators eat, where means Foyot restaurant was a costly kind of restaurant where French senator, the French politicians used to eat, and it was so far beyond the means that I had never even thought of going there, but I was flattered, and I was too young to have learned to say no to a woman. So that restaurant was costly, and that was beyond the limitation of the writer. But he was quite flattered with the praise and flattery of the which was done by lady, and he was too young at the time to deny to a woman for the lunch. I may add, learn this little, they are too old to make it to any consequence to a woman when they say, I had 80 francs. Means he could not deny at the time to the lady when she offered the desire to meet with the writer and to have the lunch at Foyot's restaurant. I had 80 francs. He was only having at that time 80 francs to last me the rest of the month, and a modest luncheon should not cost more than 15. At that time he was having only 80 francs, and which was for his the completely month survival. And he had this thought in his mind at that time that he had this thought in his mind that this lunch would not cost more than 15 francs. So he thought that in just managing that 15 francs, the cost of that 15 francs, he would give up his coffee for the next 2 weeks, and he could manage it well for the whole month. And I answered that I would meet my friend by correspondence at Foyot's restaurant, and he just made his mind that he will meet with that lady at the Foyot's restaurant. He decided he will meet the lady on Thursday at 12:30. She was not so young. When he met with the lady, he said she was not so young as I expected, and in appearance imposing rather than attractive. She was not quite attractive. She was not attractive, just only imposing. She was in fact a woman of 40, and her age also he has assumed that was something 40 years of age, a charming age, but not that excites the sudden devastating passion at first sight. Means she was okay, she was having the charming age, but that was not that kind of which can attract to the writer. And she gave me the impression of having more teeth, white and large and even, and that were necessary for any practical purposes. Means when she met with the narrator, she just smiled. She was talkative, but she seemed inclined to talk about me. I was prepared to be an attentive listener. That lady was quite talkative, so the narrator also decided that he will listen to the lady with patience, and he will become an attentive listener. I was startled when the bill of the fare was brought, for the price were a great deal higher than I had anticipated, but she reassured me. Means when he saw at that time, when the narrator saw the complete menu of that Foyot restaurant things, so he was just quite in shock, because the prices. After that, when he saw the fare of the bill, so he was quite in shock. But the lady assured him, I never eat anything for lunch, and she said to the narrator that she doesn't eat anything for the lunch. I asked generously, oh, don't say that. But narrator, being a generous man, he was showing his generosity, and he said, oh, don't say that. I never eat more than one thing. I think people eat for too much nowadays. A little fish, perhaps. I wonder if they have any salmon. Now, firstly she was saying that she doesn't eat anything for the lunch, but then when writer said, oh, don't say anything like that, he asked very generously. So the lady said, I never eat more than one thing. And she was in this thinking that the people nowadays are eating a lot, and she can eat only a little fish. And she asked maybe the restaurant would have the salmon fish or not. Well, it was early in the year for salmon, and it was not on the bill of the fare, but I asked the waiter if there was any. At that time, that was not the time of salmon in that year, and that was not on the bill also. So he asked, even then the narrator asked from the waiter if he would have any salmon or not. Yes. Now this was the reply of the waiter. Yes, a beautiful salmon has just come in. It was the first they had. I ordered it for my guest. The waiter asked her if she would have something while it was being cooked. Now the waiter asked, yes, they have. The waiter said that yes, they have got a salmon just a few moments back, and it was first that they had it. So the narrator ordered for his guest, and the waiter asked, till that time when the salmon is being prepared, would you like to have something else? She answered, no, I never eat more than one thing unless you have a little caviar. I never mind caviar. Earlier, from the starting, she was saying she doesn't eat anything for the lunch. After that, she ordered for the salmon, which was quite expensive dish. After that, when when the waiter asked again, would you like to have something when the salmon is being prepared, she says she doesn't eat more than one thing, but she can have caviar if they would have something. When the narrator heard this, my heart sank a little. I knew I could not afford caviar, but I could not very well tell her that. I told the waiter by all means to bring caviar. Means when the lady expressed her desire to eat caviar, at that time his heart was just sinking and he did not know that would he be able to afford that caviar or not. But even then, by all the means, he said to the waiter that you just bring that caviar for the lady. For myself, I chose the cheapest dish on the menu, that was the mutton chop. As the lady was ordering all the expensive kind of thing as the salmon, the caviar, the narrator had to just balance the amount, balance the fare of the bill. That is why he ordered for the cheapest thing on the menu, that was mutton chop. When the narrator ordered for the mutton chop, the lady said, I think you are unwise to eat meat. She said, I don't know, how can you expect to work after eating heavy things like chops? I don't believe in overloading my stomach. When he ordered for the mutton chop, the lady said to the narrator that how could you eat this much, and I think you are very unwise to eat this kind of heavy food. You should take something lighter, because this heavy food, how can you work after having this heavy food? And I don't believe in overloading the stomach. Then came the question of drink. Now she ordered firstly the salmon, then caviar, and the narrator ordered mutton chop for himself. At the time after that, the question was for the drink, what they should have drink. So the lady said, I never drink anything for lunch. She said that I don't drink anything for lunch. Neither do I. I answered promptly. The narrator was seeming quite happy and he was quite quick for answering it that he also doesn't drink anything except white wine. She proceeded as though I had not spoken. These French white wines are so light, they are wonderful for digestion. Then the lady said that I don't drink anything for lunch except white wine. She proceeded. She was saying that I don't drink anything except there is white wine. And these French white wines are very light and good for the digestion also. What would you like? I asked, hospitable still but not exactly effusive. So the narrator asked from the lady, what would you like to drink? And he asked in a very hospitable manner, because obviously she was the guest for the narrator. She gave me a bright and amicable flash of her white teeth. She smiled very happily. My doctor wouldn't let me drink anything but champagne. Means now she is saying that her doctor has suggested that her doctor would not allow her to drink anything only but champagne. I fancy turned a trifle pale. I ordered half a bottle. When he heard the choice of the lady for drink, that was champagne, he became a little bit pale. I ordered half a bottle. I mentioned casually that my doctor had absolutely forbidden me to drink champagne. And the narrator said that my doctor has completely denied me to drink champagne. What are you going to drink then? Now the lady asked from the narrator, then what are you going to drink? The narrator said, I will drink water. She ate the caviar, she ate the salmon. Now the caviar and the salmon was on the table. She ate both the things. She talked happily of the art, literature and music. But he was surprised but she was talking there about art, music and literature. But I wondered what the bill would come to when my mutton chop arrived. She took me quite seriously to task. And at that time the narrator has one thought in his mind, what would be the bill of all these things. So when his mutton chop arrived on the table, she said, I see that you are in the habit of eating a heavy luncheon. I am sure it is a mistake. She just was suggesting to the narrator that I think she was thinking that the narrator has the habit of eating some kind of heavy lunch, and according to the lady, he was committing a mistake for that. Why don't you follow my example and just eat only one thing? And he was saying that she said that why don't you follow my example and only eat one thing? I'm sure you would feel even ever so much better for it. Okay, I'm going to eat only one thing, I said as the waiter came again with the bill of fare. And the narrator said that I'm going to eat only one thing and I'm not going to eat anything else when the waiter came there with the fare of the bill. She wanted him aside with an airy gesture. Means up to now she was not satisfied and she just made the right waiter aside with her gesture. She waved him aside with an airy gesture. No, no, I never eat anything for lunch, just a bite. I never want more than that. And I eat that more as an excuse for conversation than anyone else. Means she was saying that this lunch was just an excuse to talk with the narrator, to talk with the writer, and just she wanted to have a bite, and she doesn't want to eat more than one thing. I couldn't possibly eat anything more unless they had some of the giant asparagus. Means up to now she was not satisfied with the salmon, with the caviar. She has just expressed her desire to eat asparagus. I should be sorry to leave Paris without having some of them. She was thinking that she will feel so sorry if she leave Paris without even having asparagus. As the narrator heard the name of asparagus, his heart was sinking. I had seen them in the shops. I knew that they were horribly expensive. The narrator knew that the asparagus was quietly expensive and he did not even ever had them themselves. And whenever my mouth had often watered at the sight of them, whenever he used to see on the shop, his mouth filled with water. Madam wants to know if you have any of giant asparagus, asked the waiter. The narrator asked from the waiter that Madam wants to know if you have any kind of giant asparagus. I tried with my all might to will him say no. At the time, the narrator was having the wish that the waiter should deny that no, they don't have asparagus. But a happy smile spread over his broad priest-like face, and he assured me that they had some so large, so splendid, so tender that it was marvel. And at that time, the waiter just agreed, and he just informed them that they have asparagus which was quite tender, so splendid, and it was quite marvel. I'm not in the least hungry, my guest sighed, but if you insist, I don't mind having some asparagus. Firstly, the lady expressed her own desire for having the asparagus. Now when the narrator was ordering that, she was imposing that she doesn't want to eat, and she's just eating asparagus as the narrator has a wish. At last, the narrator had to order them. Aren't you going to have any? No, I never eat asparagus. Now the lady asked from the narrator, will you not have any kind of asparagus? So the writer said, no, I won't have any. I would not like to have any. I know there are people who don't like them. The fact is you ruin your palate by just all the meat you eat. So now the lady was saying that I know that many of the people are there like that who doesn't like asparagus. But as you have eaten the meat chop, you have already spoiled your complete palate. We waited for the asparagus to be cooked. Panic seized me. It was not a question now of how much money I should have left over the rest of the month, but whether I had enough to pay the bill. It would be mortifying to find myself 10 francs short to be obliged to borrow from my guest. Now he was waited firstly for the asparagus to be cooked, and at that time his mind was just completely on this thing, that what will be the bill. And now this thought was not in his mind that would he be able to save some money for his rest of his month or not. He was having this thought in his mind that would he be able to pay the bill of the lunch or not. And he was thinking it would be very bad and it would be very embarrassing for him that if he would ask 10 francs from the guest. I could not bring myself to do that. He was not having this courage to do this thing. I could not bring myself to do that. I knew exactly how much I had. The narrator knew very well that how much money he had with him. And if the bill came to more, I had made up my mind. But he was thinking if the bill will be more than that, then he has made his mind that he would put his hand in his pocket, and then he put up his hand in his pocket, and with a dramatic cry he will start like that he was just picked his pocket. His pocket was picked. Of course it would be awkward if she had not money enough either to pay the bill. But he came the again thought in his mind that it would be very bad if that lady would not have any money for paying. Then the only thing would be to leave my watch and say. And the last thought came in his mind that he would leave his watch to the restaurant, and then he said that he will come another day for taking the watch when he will pay the money. After that thought which was going on in the mind of the writer, the asparagus arrived. They were enormous, succulent and appetizing. That was quite huge, that was juicy and quite appetizing, which can increase this appetite of any person. The smell of the melted butter tickled my nostrils as the nostrils of the Jehovah were tickled by the bond of springs of the virtuous Samatis. So he was just quite amused and uh, to see the asparagus because he had never watched it. And I watched the abandoned woman thrust them down her throat, large voluptuous mouthful, and in my polite way I discoursed on the condition of the drama in the Balkans. At the last she finished coffee, I said. Means when she finished the asparagus, the narrator asked that would she like to have coffee. She said yes, just an ice cream and coffee. She answered. Means she did not even only wanted to have coffee. She added one more thing, that was an ice cream. I was past caring now, so I ordered coffee for myself and an ice cream and coffee for her. Then the narrator ordered the coffee for himself and ice cream and coffee for both the things for the lady. You know, there's one thing I truly believe in, she said. She ate the ice cream. One must always get up from the meal feeling one could eat a little more. She said that when we are having anything, we should get up from the table to have left little bit hunger in our stomach. Are you still hungry? I asked faintly. Means the narrator was completely about to get faint because she eat a lot of things, the salmon, the asparagus, the caviar, and ice cream, coffee. Even then she said that person should get up from the table when she is little bit hungry. Still then the narrator asked in polite manner that are you still hungry? Oh no, I'm not hungry, you see, I don't eat lunch. I have a cup of coffee in the morning and then dinner. Means she said she never eats lunch, she just takes coffee in the morning and after that she used to have the dinner directly. But I never eat more than one thing for the lunch, or if she is having any time lunch, she just eat only one thing. I was asking for you only. Oh, I see. Now the writer said, oh, I see. Then a terrible thing happened. While we were waiting for the coffee, the head waiter with an ingratiating smile on his false face came up to us bearing a large basket full of huge peaches. At the time when they were waiting for the coffee and the ice cream, the head waiter came towards them with a basket which was full of peaches. They had the blush of innocent girl. They had the rich tone of an Italian landscape. At the time, they were smiling like an innocent girl, and they were having the tone of an Italian landscape. Means they were speaking in some Italian way. Surely peaches were not in season then. At the time when they were having the peaches in the basket, at that time that was not the season of the peaches. So of course the peaches would also be expensive. Lord knew what they cost. I knew too what they cost. A little later, for my guest, going on with her conversation absent-mindedly, took one. When the lady was talking to the narrator, she picked one of the peaches from the basket. You see, you have filled your stomach with a lot of meat. My one miserable little chop, you can't eat any more, but I have had just a snack and I shall enjoy a peach. Means now the lady said that you have to the narrator that you have spoiled your stomach just by having only that meat chop, and because of that you are not able to have anything more. And as you can see my example, I have just eaten a little bit of snack and now I can enjoy a peach also. The bill came. Means she has eaten everything. Now the bill came. When I paid, I found that I had only for a quite inadequate tip. Means whatever he was having, the complete amount for spending for the whole month that he spent on that, and he, after even paying that, he was not even having a little bit more amount of the money which he can give a proper kind of tip. Her eyes rested for an instant on the 3 francs I left for the waiter, and he could only give 3 francs to the waiter for the tip. So I knew that she thought me mean, and when maybe the lady would have seen me paying 3 francs as the tip, she would be thinking the narrator mean. But when I walked out of the restaurant, I had the whole month before me and not a penny in my pocket. Means the narrator has spent all of the money which he saved for his month. Now the lady was saying, follow my example, she said, as we shook hands, and never eat more than one thing for the lunch. Even at the last time, she was advising the narrator that only eat one thing in the lunch and just follow her example. Now the narrator said, I will do better than that. He was just said in a very sharp and angrily kind of manner that I will do better than that. I will eat nothing for the dinner tonight. Humorous, she cried gaily, jumping into the cab. You are quite humorous. And at last, means she just said to the writer, you are quite humorist. You are quite a person who used to have a good sense of humor. But And as she just said this, and she just got inside of the cab in the taxi and just went away. But when the narrator met with the lady, this up to here, this was the story before 20 years when the narrator meet with the lady for the first time. And now he's saying it, but I have had my revenge at last. Means how that lady just teased him 20 years back, we can say. Now the narrator had his revenge. I do not believe that I am a vindictive man, but when the immortal gods take a hand in the matter, it is part unable to observe the result of the complacency. Now he said that when the god takes his chance for taking the revenge, it's quite feeling of this, it gives the quite feeling of the satisfaction, because now the lady, because she had this habit for eating a lot, and she used to say she doesn't eat anything for the lunch, or she eats only one thing, in the lunch. So because of that, she has gained a lot of weight, and her weight was now 21 stone, which was 14 pounds. Means she was quite healthy and fatty. So now the narrator understood, and the narrator assumed that this was a revenge for her, as she was eating a lot, and this was a revenge of the narrator which she took from the lady. So this was the chapter, The Luncheon. It was quite amusing and quite interesting. I hope you would have understood this chapter and you would have enjoyed it. So have a nice day ahead, everyone. Goodbye.